believe everything happens for a reason. I've always kind of had this stance. And when I was a kid, I would say things like, if it wasn't meant to happen, then it wouldn't have happened. And if it's meant to happen, then it will. Now, a lot of people disagree with this because there are terrible things happening all around us, all the time, even now. And when you're in the middle of that and when you're experiencing it, it's hard to think, oh, there's something good that's going to come of this, or there's got to be a better reason that this is happening to me. It wasn't until recently that I was able to actually look back in my own life and see that my darkest times have actually led to meaning and better things for me. Growing up, I suffered from depression at a young age. I was bullied a lot as a kid, and I struggled to make friends and be myself. At 13, I started self-harming. And as I got older, it really didn't stop. I went to college and into adulthood, everything was still a bit of a struggle. There were plenty of times I didn't want to go on. I felt suicidal. I wasn't willing to get out of bed to go to work. It was just a struggle. At 23, I finally decided to seek some help. So I got into a clinical trial, and I was able to get medication, get the help that I needed, or so I thought, and be paid for it. Figured it would be great. But just as quickly as the medication started working for me, I got put on the placebo, and everything went back to exactly how it had been. The doctor decided to take me out of the clinical trial, that way I could actually get the help that I needed. And that was a good idea. Started my journey of a decade long of trying all the medications out there. If there is a medication on the market for depression, I have tried it. And most of them start really good. I start to feel better, but then just as quickly they wear off again. And I didn't really know what the problem was. Sometimes if I missed a dose by even an hour, I would get really crazy withdrawal symptoms. It wasn't until I took a DNA test that I found out my genes don't process the medication as expected. And I didn't know that was a thing. Pretty much, I'm a poor metabolizer on the gene that processes all the antidepressants. And so that means the doctors can prescribe me medication, but they don't know how much is actually getting into my bloodstream. So this was pretty much off the table, and I started seeking alternatives. And I found transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS. This is basically you sit underneath a device, and it's going to tap you on the head every 20 or so seconds for a 30 to 45-minute session. You have to do your sessions every day for at least 3 weeks. And as you can see here, I've got this lovely cap. They map out your brain. They have to find the exact right spot so that you can get the treatment and it works. And so because it has to hit you on exactly the right spot, that means you have to be very, very still. So that meant no reading in the chair, no playing on my phone, and honestly, it's painful, so I couldn't sleep either. So what I did was I sat there in silence and was still. Now, I also have ADHD, and the medications don't, I don't process that. So sitting still is really difficult. So I started to sit with myself and follow my breath. And I realized later that I was actually creating a meditation practice for myself. I had meditated maybe once in 5th grade. They taught us how to, and it was basically staring at a wall, and I didn't like that. So this really started to open things up. I started to view my thoughts differently and my emotions differently, and it created a spiritual awakening in me. So then I started to explore that. I explored metaphysical concepts like energy healing and chakras, and I really just started to see the world in a different way. Now, this led me to take classes about unlocking my intuition, which is now something that I teach to other women so that they can tap into their own authentic self as well. I also practice as a psychic medium, which is something that I had no idea that I had the skills and abilities to do. But most importantly, these interests have introduced me to amazing women across the globe. Some of my now closest friends live in Australia, and I never would have met them if I hadn't been pursuing these new alternative paths that I hadn't considered before. Now, if I had told suicidal Ashley, hey, it's all going to be worth it because you get to go on to do these great things and meet amazing people, she probably wouldn't have believed it. And I can't blame her for that. But now that I'm here and I can look back and I've persevered, I can truly see that everything does happen for a reason.